Gareth answered them, with laughter, swearing. He had glamour, and now, in his own blood, his princedom, youth, and hopes, to plunge old Merlin in the Arabian Sea. So pushed them, all unwilling, toward the gate. And there was no gate like it under heaven. For barefoot on keystone, which was lined and rippled like an ever-fleeting wave, the Lady of the Lake stood, all her dress wept from her sides as water flowing away. But like the cross, her great and goodly arms stretched under the cornice and upheld, and drops of water fell from either hand. And down from one a sword was hung, from one a censer, either worn with wind and storm, and o'er her breast floated the sacred fish. And in the space to left of her and right were Arthur's wars, in weird devices done, new things and old co-twisted, as if time were nothing, so inveterately that men were giddy gazing there. And over all, high on top, were those three queens, the friends of Arthur, who should help him at his need. Then those with Gareth, for so long a space, stared at the figures, that at last it seemed the dragon bouts and elvish emblings began to move, seethe, twine, and curl. They called to Gareth, "Lord, the gateway is alive," and Gareth likewise on them fixed his eyes, so long that even to him they seemed to move. Out of the city a blast of music pealed. Back from the gate started the three, to whom, from out their under, came an ancient man, long-bearded, saying, "Who be ye, my sons?" Then Gareth, "We be tillers of the soil, who leaving share and furrow come to see the glories of our king. But these, my men, your city so moved, so weirdly in the mist, doubt if the king be king at all, or come from fairyland, are whether this be built by magic and by fairy kings and queens, or whether there be any city at all, are all a vision. And this music now has scared them both, but tell thou these the truth." Then that old seer made answering playing on him, and sang, "Son, I have seen the good ship sail, keel upward and mast downward in the heavens, and solid turrets topsy-turvy in the air, and here is truth. But, an it please thee not, take thou the truth as thou hast told it me. For truly, as thou sayest, a fairy king and fairy queens have built the city, son. They came from out a sacred mountain cleft, toward the sunrise, each with harp in hand, and built it to the music of their harps. And as thou sayest, it is enchanted, son, for there is nothing in it, as it seems, saving the king, as though some there be that hold the king a shadow, and the city real. Yet take thou heed of him, for so thou pass beneath this archway, then wilt thou become a thrall to his enchantments, for the king will bind thee by such vows, as is a shame a man should not be bound by. Yet the which no man can keep, but so thou dread to swear. Pass not beneath this gateway, but abide without among the cattle of the field. For an ye hear a music like it now, They are building still, seeing the city is built. To music, therefore, never built at all, and therefore built forever. Gareth spake. Angered, old master, reverence thine own beard, that looks as white as utter truth, and seems well nigh as long as thou art statured tall. Why mockest thou the stranger that hath been to thee first spoken? But the seer replied, Know ye not, then, the riddling of the bards, confusion and illusion and relation, illusion and occasion and evasion? I mock thee not, but as thou mockest me, and all that see thee, for thou art not who thou seemest, but I know thee who thou art, and now thou goest up to mock the king, who could not brook the shadow of any life, Unmockingly, the mocker, ending here, turned to the right and passed along the plain. And Gareth, looking after, said, My men, our one white lie sits like a little ghost here on the threshold of our enterprise. Let love be blamed for it, not she nor I, while we will make amends. With all good cheer he spake and laughed, and then centered with his twain Camelot, a city of shadowy palaces, and stately, rich in emblem, and the work of ancient kings, who did their days in stone, which Merlin's hand, the mage at Arthur's court, knowing all arts, had touched, and everywhere at Arthur's ordinance tipped with lessening peak and pinnacle, and had made it spire to heaven, and ever and anon a knight would pass, outward or inward to the hall. His arms clashed, and the sound was good to Gareth's ear, and out of the bower and casement shyly glanced eyes of pure women, wholesome stars of love, and all about a healthful people stepped, as in the presence of a gracious king. Then into hall Gareth ascending heard a voice, the voice of Arthur, and beheld, far overheads, in that long vaulted hall, the splendor of the presence of the king, throned and delivering doom, and looked no more, but felt his young heart hammering in his ears, and thought, for this half-shadow of a lie, the truthful king will doom me when I speak. Yet, pressing on, though all in fear to find, Sir Gawain, our Sir Modred, saw nor one nor other, but in all the listening eyes of those tall kings that ranged about the throne, of dawn and faith in their great king, with pure affection and the light of victory, and glory gained, and evermore gang. Then came a widow crying to the king, A boon, Sir King, thy father Uther reft from my dead lord a field with violence. Howsoever at first he proffered gold, yet, for the field was pleasant in our eyes, we yielded not, and then he reft us of it perforce, and left us neither gold nor field. Said Arthur, Whither would ye, gold or field? To whom the woman weeping, Nay, my lord, the field was pleasant in my husband's eye. And Arthur, have thy pleasant field again, and thrice the gold for Uther's use thereof, according to the years. No boon is here, but justice so, thy say be proven true. Accursed who, from the wrongs his father did, would shape himself aright. And while she passed, came yet another widow crying to him, A boon, Sir King, thy enemy, king am I. With thine own hand thou slewest my dear lord, a knight of Uther, in the Barons' war, when Lot and many other rose and fought against thee, saying, Thou wert basely born. I held with these, and loath to ask thee aught. Yet lo, my husband's brother had my son thralled in his castle, and hath starved him to death, and standeth seized of that inheritance, which thou that slewest the sire hast left the son. So I thought I scarce can ask it thee, for hate. Grant me some knight to do the battle for me, kill the foul thief, and wreck me for my son. Then strode a good knight forward, crying to him, A boon, Sir King, I am her kinsman, I. Give me to right her wrong, and slay the man. Then came Sir Kay, the seneschal, and cried, A boon, Sir King, even that thou grant her none. This railer that hath mocked thee in full hall, none are the wholesome boon of gyve and gag. But Arthur we sit king to help the wronged through all our realm. The woman loves her lord. Peace to thee, woman, with thy loves and hates. The kings of old doom thee to the flames. Areolus, Emrys would have scourged thee dead, and Uther slit thy tongue. But get thee hence, lest that rough humour of the kings of old return upon me. Thou that art her kin, go likewise and lay him low, and slay him not, but bring him here, that I may judge the right, according to the justice of the king. Then be he guilty by that deathless king, who lived and died for men. The men shall die. Then came in hall the messenger of Mark, a name of evil savour in the land. The Cornish king, in either hand he bore what dazzled all, and shone far off as shines a field of charlock on the sudden sun, in the sudden sun. Between two showers, a cloth of palest gold, which down he laid before the throne, and knelt, delivering that his lord, the vassal king, was even upon his way to Camelot. For having heard that Arthur of his grace had made his goodly cousin Tristram knight, and for himself was of the greater state, being a king, he trusted his liege lord would yield him this large honour all the more. So prayed him well to accept this cloth of gold, in token of true heart and fealty. Then Arthur cried to rend the cloth, to rend in pieces, and so cast it on the hearth. An oak tree smouldered there. The goodly knight, what shall the shield of Mark stand among these? For midway down the side of that long hall, a stately pile, whereof along the front, some blazoned, some but carven, and some blank, there ran a treble range of stony shields, rose and high arching, overbrowed the hearth, and under every shield a knight was named. For this was Arthur's custom in his hall. When some good knight had done one noble deed, his arms were carven only, but if twain his arms were blazoned also, but if none, the shield was blank and bare without a sign, save the name beneath. And Gareth saw the shield of Gawain blazoned rich and bright, and Modred's blank as death. And Arthur cried to rend the cloth and cast on the hearth. More like are we to relieve him of his crown, than make him knight because men call him king. The kings we found, yet know we stayed their hands from war among themselves, but left them kings, of whom were any bounteous merciful, truth-speaking brave, good livers them we enrolled among us, and they sit within our hall. But Mark hath tarnished the name of king, as Mark would sully the low state of churl, and seeing that he hath sent us cloth of gold, return and meet and hold him from our eyes, lest we should lap him up in cloth of lead. Silence forever, craven, a man of plots, craft, poisonous counsels, wayside ambushings, no fault of thine. Let Kay, the seneschal, look to thy wants, and send thee satisfied. Accursed who strikes, nor let the hand be seen. And many another suppliant crying came, with noise of ravage wrought by beast and man, and evermore a knight would ride away. Last, Gareth leaning both hands heavily down on the shoulders of the twain, his men approached between them toward the king and asked, "A boon, Sir King." His voice was all ashamed. "For see ye not how weak and hunger-worn I seem leaning on these? Grant me to serve for meat and drink among my kitchen knaves a 12-month and a day, nor seek my name, hereafter I will fight. To him, the king, a goodly youth, and worth a goodlier boon. But so thou wilt no goodlier, then must Kay, the master of the meats and drinks, be thine." He rose and passed, and Kay, a man of mine, one sallow as the plant that feels itself root bitten by white lichen. Lo ye now, this fellow hath broken from some abbey where, God wot, he had not beef, and brewis enow. However that might chance, but an he work like any pigeon, will I cram his crop, and sleeker shall he shine than any hog. Then Lancelot standing near, "Sir Seneschal, sleuth-hound thou knowest, and grey, and all the hounds, a horse thou knowest, a man thou dost not know, broad brows and fair, affluent hair and fine, high nose, a nostril large and fine, and hands large and fair and fine, some young lad's mystery, but are from Sheepcot or Kingshall. The boy is noble-natured. Treat him with all grace, lest he should come to shame thy judging of him. Then, Kay, what murmurest thou of mystery? Think ye this fellow will poison the king's dish? Nay, for he spake too fool-like mystery. Tut and the lad were noble. He had axed for horse and armor, fair and fine, forsooth. Sir Fine Face, Sir Fine Hands, but see thou to it that thine own fineness, Lancelot, some fine day undo thee not, and leave my man to me. So Gareth all for glory underwent the sooty yoke of kitchen vassalage, ate with young lads his portion by the door, and crouched at night with grimy kitchen knaves, and Lancelot ever spake him pleasantly. But Kay, the seneschal, who loved him not, would hustle and harry him, and labour him beyond his comrade of the hearth, and set to overturn the broach, draw water, or hew wood, or grosser tasks. And Gareth bowed himself with all obedience to the king, and wrought all kinds of service with a noble ease that graced the lowliest act in doing it. And we hear about the exemplar prophets, that they had regular jobs too. They weren't coddled and all that. Showing that serving God is in, the basis of material things. And when the thralls had talk among themselves, and one would praise the love that linked the king and Lancelot, how the king had saved his life in battle twice, and Lancelot once the king's. For Lancelot was the first in tournament, but Arthur mightiest on the battlefield. Gareth was glad, or if some other told, how once the wandering forester at dawn, far over the blue tarns and hazy seas, on Caer Eryri's highest found the king, a naked babe, of whom the prophet spake. He passed to the isle Aveline. The isle Avolion. He passes and is healed and cannot die. Gareth was glad. But if their talk were foul, then would he whistle, rapid as any lark, or carol some roundelay, and so loud that first they mocked, but after reverenced him. Perhaps after they felt the fact. Or Gareth, telling some prodigious tale of knights who sliced a red life bubbling way, through 20 folds of twisted dragon, held all in a gap-mouthed circle, his good mates, lying or sitting round him, idle hands, charmed, till Sir Kay, the seneschal, would come, blustering upon them, like a sudden wind, or among dead leaves, and drive them all apart, or when the thralls had sport among themselves. So there were any trial of mastery. He by 2 yards and casting bar or stone was counted best, and if there chanced a joust, so that Sir Kay nodded him leave to go, would hurry thither, and when he saw the knights clash, like the coming and retiring wave, and the spear spring, and good horse reel, the boy was half beyond himself for ecstasy. So for a month he wrought among the thralls, but in the weeks that followed, the good queen, repentant of the word she made him swear, at saddening in her childless castle, sent, between the increscent and the decrescent moon, arms for her son, and loosed him from his vow. This Gareth hearing from a squire of Lot, with whom he used to play at tourney once, when both were children, and in lonely haunts, would scratch a ragged oval on the sand, and each at either dash from either end. Shame never made girl redder than Gareth joy. He laughed, he sprang out of the smoke at once, a leap from Satan's foot to Peter's knee. These news be mine, none others, nay. The king's descend into the city, whereon he sought the king alone, and found, and told him all. I have staggered thy strong Gawain in a tilt, for pastime, yea, he said it, joust can I. Make me thy knight, in secret, let my name be hidden, and give me the first quest. I spring like flame from ashes. Here the king's calm eye fell on and checked, and made him flush and bow, lowly to kiss his hand, who answered him, Son, the good mother let me know thee here, and sent her wish that I would yield thee thine. Make thee my knight. My knights are sworn to vows of utter hardihood, utter gentleness, and loving utter faithfulness in love, and uttermost obedience to the king. Then Gareth lightly springing from his knees, My king, for hardihood I can promise thee, for uttermost obedience make demand, of whom ye gave me to the seneschal, no mellow master of the meats and drinks. And as for love, God wot, I love not yet, but love I shall, God willing. And the king, make thee my knight in secret, yea, but he, our noblest brother, and our truest man, and one with me in all he needs must know. Let Lancelot know, my king, let Lancelot know thy noblest and thy truest. And the king, but wherefore would ye men should wonder at you? Nay, rather, for the sake of me, their king, and the deed's sake, my knighthood do the deed, then to be noised of. Merrily Gareth asked, Have I not earned my cake in baking of it? Let be my name until I make my name. My deeds will speak. It is but for a day. So with a kindly hand on Gareth's arm smiled the great king, and half unwillingly, loving his lusty youthhood, yielded to him. Then, after summoning Lancelot privily, I have given him the first quest. He is not proven. Look, therefore, when he calls for this in hall, thou get to horse and follow him far away. Cover the lions on thy shield, and see far as thou mayest he be nar ta'en nar slain. Then that same day there passed into the hall a damsel of high lineage, and a brow May blossom, and a cheek of apple blossom, hawk eyes, and lightly was her slender nose, tip-tilted like the petal of a flower. She into hall passed with her page and cried, O king! For thou hast driven the foe without, see to the foe within, bridge, ford, beset by bandits, everyone that owns a tower. The lord for half a league, why sit ye there? Rest would I not, Sir King, and I were king, till even the lonest hold were all as free from cursed bloodshed as thine altar cloth. From that best blood it is a sin to spill. Comfort thyself, said Arthur, I nor mine rest, so my knighthood keep the vows they swore. The wasted moorland of our realm shall be safe, damsel, as the center of this hall. What is thy name, thy need? My name, she said. Lynette, my name. Noble, my need. A knight to combat for my sister. Leonore's a lady of high lineage, of great lands, and comely, yea, and comelier than myself. She lives in Castle Perilous. A river runs in 3 loops about her living place, and over it are 3 passings, and 3 knights. Defend the passings, brethren, and a 4th, and of that 4, the mightiest, holds her stayed in her own castle, and so besieges her, to break her will, and make her wed with him, and but delays his purport till thou send, to do the battle with him, thy chief man, Sir Launcelot, whom he trusts to overthrow. Then wed with glory, but she will not wed, save whom she loveth, are a holy life. Now, therefore, have I come for Launcelot. Now, particularly for women, I don't, and, well, men too, I don't believe that lifelong celibacy makes it holy. Marriage is really most of what religion is. And one doesn't lose chastity having relations with one's spouse. Then Arthur, mindful of Sir Gareth, asked, Damsel, ye know, this order lives to crush all wrongers of the realm, but say these 4, who be they? What the fashion of these men? They be a foolish fashion, O Sir King, the fashion of that old knight errantry, who ride abroad and do but what they will, courteous or bestial from the moment, such as have nor law nor king, and 3 of these, proud in their fancy, call themselves the day, morning star, and noon sun, and evening star, being strong fools and never a whit more wise. The 4th, who always rideth armed in black, a huge man-beast of boundless savagery. He names himself the Night, and oftener Death, and wears a helmet, mounted with a skull, and bears a skeleton figure on his arms, to show that who may slay or escape the 3 slain by himself shall enter endless night. And all these 4 be fools, but mighty men, and therefore am I come for Launcelot. Hereat Sir Gareth called from where he rose, ahead with kindling eyes above the throng. A boon, Sir King, this quest. Then, for he marked Kay near him, groaning like a wounded bull. Yea, King, thou knowest, thy kitchen knave am I, and mighty through thy meats and drinks am I, and I can topple over 100 such. Thy promise, King? And Arthur, glancing at him, brought down a momentary brow, rough, sudden, and partible, worthy to be knight. Go therefore, and all hearers were amazed. But on the damsel's forehead, shame, pride, wrath, slew the May White. She lifted either arm. Fie on thee, king, I asked for thy chief knight, and thou hast given me but a kitchen knave. Then ere a man in hall could stay her, turned, fled down the lane of access to the king. Took horse, descended the sloped street, and passed the weird white gate, and paused without, beside the field of tourney, murmuring kitchen knave. Now 2 great entries opened from the hall, at one end one, that gave upon a range of level pavement, where the king would pace at sunrise, gazing over plain and wood, and down from this a lordly stairway sloped to lost and blowing trees and tops of towers, and out by this main doorway passed the king, but one was counter to the hearth, and rose high, that the highest crested helm could ride. Therethrough nor graze, and by this entry fled the damsel in her wrath, and on to this Sir Gareth strode, and saw without the door King Arthur's gift, the worth of half a town, a war horse of the best, and near it stood the 2 that out of the north had followed him. This bare a maiden shield, a casque that held the horse, the spear whereat Sir Gareth loosed, a cloak that dropped from collarbone to heel, a cloth of roughest web, and cast it down, and from it, like a fuel-smothered fire, that looked half dead, brake bright and flashed, as those dull-coated things that make sliding apart. Their dust-wing cases all beneath their burns, a jeweled harness ere they pass and fly. So Gareth, ere he parted, flashed in arms. Now, don't let anything but what people know, what they're able to do, their experience, their good or bad behavior, deny people certain positions. So people looking for status and money and perhaps even looks are going to miss out on a lot if they make those things preferable to